Coming up on Pope's Plates, chicken spaghetti.
Hi, this is Jennifer. Thank you for joining me as we take a walk through the recipes that have built the culinary foundation of my family.
Something I really love about generational recipes is they don't always have to be your own. This recipe comes from one of my mom's closest friends, a great friend to our family. We're going to begin by adding 1/3 cup tarragon vinegar to a jar. If you don't have tarragon vinegar, we've included a recipe in the description box below for you to make your own. We're also going to add 2 teaspoons of Lowry seasoning salt and 2 teaspoons of paprika. I also noticed when editing that I don't have the footage of us adding 2/3 cup vegetable oil to the mixture that we're shaking here, so make sure that you do that. I'm sorry about that. While we're preparing everything else, we're going to add 7 ounces of vermicelli spaghetti to a pot of rolling, boiling water. Now we're going to chop 4 stalks of celery and 5 green onions. Now, I've already started some of that, but when we're finished, we're going to add those to a bowl. There are so many really great things about this recipe, but one of my favorite is how well it keeps. I find it's actually better the second day because all of the flavors have had time to meld, and it's served cold or at room temperature. One of the places I always bring this recipe to is on election day. I usually am a machine operator, and for the election safety, we're not allowed to leave, and so we bring our own food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I always bring this to share, and it's a huge hit. I love this recipe the way it is, but if you would like to make it a little more colorful and potentially change the flavor, you could add some purple onions or some shallots or some tomatoes just to make it visually more interesting, because there's a lot of green color in this, but I love the flavor the way it is. It's really good. As I continue to chop the onions, I want to tell you that in this particular recipe, in a few minutes, we'll be using rotisserie chicken. You can also make your own chicken. I would salt and pepper it a little bit and then shred it. It's just easier to use rotisserie chicken, and I don't think it particularly changes the flavor at all, but that is completely up to you and what your preference is. Now we're going to chop 3 pounds or approximately 3 pounds of chicken. If you cook it, you're going to want to shred it to whatever size that you want. I like mine with kind of bigger chunks or cuts of chicken in there, but if you don't want that, or if you want to put less chicken or more chicken, it's really completely up to you. You just may want to consider how the equivalents of the other seasonings affect that, but 3 pounds is a pretty good number of pounds for this recipe. Now we're going to add the chopped or shredded chicken to the bowl that contains our green onions and celery, and set that aside while we work on our next recipe element. Now we're going to make dressing for the entire chicken spaghetti. What we made previously is going to go on the warm noodles. When they come out of the water, it'll make sense. Just keep watching. So to a bowl, we're going to add 1/3 cup mayonnaise. To that, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 3 tablespoons of dried parsley, and 1 teaspoon of garlic salt. Now you're going to add 2 tablespoons of creamy Italian dressing. While this is not sponsored, we prefer the Olive Garden variety. And then you're going to add dill, oregano, dried oregano, and lemon pepper to taste. Now let's whisk all of the ingredients together really well, especially because we've got some maybe a little bit stronger flavors, especially the dried oregano, and you want to make sure that that's combined thoroughly. I'm going to use a whisk. You can also use a spoon. All right, we're going to set that aside, and then we're going to drain our pasta and put it back into the pot. And while it is still warm, and it is very important that you do this while it's still warm, you're going to shake the initial dressing that we made, pour it over the pasta, and stir it well. If you don't do this when it's warm, the pasta doesn't really absorb the flavors, and it definitely completely changes the taste and texture of the dish. Now let's stir in the mayonnaise-based dressing that we made earlier to the chicken and the green vegetables. And go ahead and stir that thoroughly and make sure that it is combined well as the spaghetti noodles and the sauce are sitting to the side, allowing that spaghetti to soak up the flavors of that sauce. Now I prefer to use fewer dishes, but I don't. I tend to be a disaster in the kitchen like my grandmother when I cook. There's stuff everywhere. So let me say it is better to use fewer dishes because it's fewer dishes to wash. And so we're going to go ahead and add our spaghetti to this bowl, just because it's easier to do it that way. And we're going to mix together really well and make sure that everything is very thoroughly combined. Make sure that you're scraping the bottom of the bowl so that you get everything combined really well, especially since the chicken is especially the sauce chicken is a little bit heavier than the pasta. So make sure that you get everything from the bottom of the bowl. We happen to have a little bit of the dressing that we put on the spaghetti left in the jar. And so after we tasted our chicken spaghetti, we went ahead and added that just as an additional flavor element. This is something that we love so much. Tell us in the description box below, in the comment section below, if you have a favorite recipe that came to your family from someone else's. I'm looking forward to hearing about that.
Thanks for visiting Pope's Plates. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Click the notification bell so that you'll know when we have new videos available. And make sure you subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Until I see you again, let's get cooking.